Episode number 6 of the Off the Bench podcast is officially underway. Today we are welcoming in Faith Younce, a junior out of Bonnie Lake, Washington, as well as a transfer from Iowa Wesleyan, currently a student here at Culver Stockton College. She is doing track and field and cross country. She does it all, really, with a couple marathons as well, with involvement in that. And yeah, it's her first year at Culver Stockton, so we're really excited for this episode. We welcome you all into the 6th one. Faith, we welcome you as well. How are you doing right now?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Of course. So, Faith, before we get straight into it, as I mentioned, you're a transfer from Iowa Wesleyan, your first year here at Culver Stockton. How are you liking Culver so far? You've been here for 5 months. What's the feel of it?
I really like it. The buildings are a lot nicer. There's facilities here. We don't have to share a track with the high school that owns the track. So from my understanding, the high school comes down here, but we get priority. The food's definitely better, which I know is probably saying something.
That's surprising.
Yeah, the food is way better. I made a lot of good friends here. Track team is really awesome. I love my new teammates. It's going good.
How was it the first couple months last semester adapting to a new environment, new school, even though a lot of, people transferred here with you as well?
I wouldn't say it was terribly hard. I think it was just more of like getting familiar with somewhere again, because I still had, like, my teammates are the people I see 99% of the time. So I still had the majority of my teammates because all of the cross-country team from Iowa Wesleyan came to Culver Stockton. So it was mostly just getting familiar with my surroundings more than, like, trying to fit in, if that makes any sense.
Right. So you mentioned your cross-country team came here with you, transferred in. How did that go about? First of all, when was it that you guys knew that Iowa Wesleyan was shutting down?
I can actually tell you the exact day and time. March 28th at like 7:30. We had just finished doing a track workout, and we all got this email that said, "Hey everyone, come to the chapel," which was like our version of the pack. And they're like, "Hey, actually, so we're gonna close because we don't have enough money." And that's when we found out. From there, I think it was immediate. Our coach, Hunter Davis, great guy. Immediately, he was like trying to get everyone figured out where they're going to go. Super supportive in that. And then he told us that he was going to come coach here. And then I wouldn't necessarily say that we followed him, but it ended up happening that way, which it's awesome because he's a great coach. And I definitely think that he's made the program here better.
Speaking of the program itself, I know it's the same coach, however, different school, different people, even though you have similar teammates as well, some of the same. How has been the comparison of the program, if you had to describe it, between Iowa Wesleyan and the one here at Culver Stockton?
I would say so far, it's definitely better already. I mean, we've broken records as a team. The men had 2 wins in a row, which is awesome. Those are the first 2 wins in school history. I think we've had more school records broken in the past 3 meets than ever in that span of time, in that short span of time. We've already had people go to nationals, and Allie and I went to the marathon nationals. Allie and I are going to nationals for race walk in March, and I'm 99% sure that someone else is going to qualify before the season's over. So I would definitely say that it's better from IW to here.
There's a race walk marathon or nationals?
Yeah. So in the NAIA, it's not in the NCAA, but in the NAIA they do race walk, which is just speed walking. It's funny. I feel kind of dumb sometimes when I do it, but at the same time, they do it at the Olympic level, so why not have college athletes in the NAIA do it? But it's definitely a thing, and people go to nationals for it. It's crazy how good these people are when they're doing it at nationals. There's people going like about the same time that I would run my 5K, so around 21 minutes. There's some girls going like 22, 23 minutes walking a 5K.
That's crazy.
And then for the 3K, like I think last year my PR was like 15:30 for a 3K, which is just under 2 miles, I think. So it's insane. It's intense, but it's a real thing.
So, okay, let's try and dig into this. So you do cross country, you do track and field, you do marathons, you do speed walking. You do it all in a span of a year, and you do this year in and year out.
Yeah.
Walk us through what goes first, what's the order? I'm assuming you don't do it all the same semester, and just how do you prepare to do 4 different things in a year span?
So cross country is we start training like summer, so around June, May, June, we'll start training for cross country. So that's just kind of building mileage during the summer, maybe doing a few speed workouts in there, tempo runs, and then we hit cross country super hard right when we get back. We start official practices in August, and then meets start in September, and those are just 3.1 mile races. So those are fun. The NAIA changed our conference distance to a 6K this year, which is 3.7 something around those lines, which was a little rough doing that at conference because a lot of us, that was our first time doing it, but that was cool. And then from there, this year at least, and 2 years ago, we did the marathon. So during cross country, we were doing like increased mileage. So there was days when I was hitting 9, 10, 11 miles a day. And then we'd have to, of course, do those 2-hour runs, which were, you had to see how many miles you could go within the span of 2 hours. And then from there, they'd put everyone in a list, top 50, I think it was either 30 or 50 people would go on that list. And if you were in the top 30 or 50, by the end of cross country season, you'd go to nationals for the marathon. So we did that, and we also had to hit at least 40 miles a week. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11 miles a day, depending on how much you're running. So we did that in December. Allie Morris, myself, and Kyle Dowd. We all did that. That was awesome. I think Kyle placed 37th. I got 30th, and I think Allie got... I can't remember her exact place, but she was also up there around us. So that was a lot of fun. And then right after that, we took a break. Over winter break, Coach had the cross-country team do something called 10 Days of Glory, which is just increased mileage for 10 days. So everyone had a goal. There were some people doing 50 miles in 10 days, some people doing 80 up to 100.
Did you choose your own goal, like your own mileage, or was that the coach that assigned it?
It was both. It was kind of based off of where you ended cross-country season. So Allie, Kyle, Logan Lucas, Gannon, Kenny, we all had increased, like we all did 100 plus miles in 10 days because that's where we ended cross at. But it ranged from like 40 to 100. So we did 10 Days of Glory. And then as soon as we got back, we hit indoor track hard. We've been in the maybe every single day, running on the treadmills. He's got sprints in there, doing bikes and plyos, and they're also on the treadmills. And recently we've been outside because it's been nice. So that's pretty much the timeline of things. And then right after nationals at the beginning of March, we'll do outdoor.
So in all of this, that sounds incredible to begin with. I can't even imagine running. Well, I didn't like doing my 2 miles when I played soccer, so I can't imagine running 100 miles in 10 days. So credit to you guys. That's just insane. On top of that, speed walking. Do you train for that? I want to get back to the speed walking part a little bit. Do you train for that? How does that go?
So it's really hard to explain. So I'll give a little context. In race walking, you have to have one foot on the ground at all times. So you have to balance, but not really balance your steps to where your hip won't pass the foot that's on the ground before you pick it up.
So, okay, while you guys are actually competing, are there any referees, any judges?
There's judges, yeah,
okay.
And they'll hold up cards, and if you get 3 cards and then you get disqualified, and then that's not very fun. I've never been disqualified, so I don't know what it's like, but other people have, and they told me it's not fun. but we do training just like anything else. We'll do mileage, so walk a few miles. We'll do workouts. We'll do like 1K repeats or 400s, 600s. It's like running, but not running. Yeah.
So when is it, again, I know you said the day, when is it that you are competing for that?
Nationals is February 29th through March 2nd, I think. Somewhere around there. I don't know exactly what day I would be racing on, but that's the day we'll be at Nationals, so.
And, okay, so during that time, you guys are also in season for track.
So conference would be either a week or a week and a half before that.
Okay.
So that would be kind of the in limbo time between indoor and outdoor. So it would just be the people that qualified that would be going, but everyone else would probably still be doing workouts.
Oh, perfect. 'Cause then I thought you were gonna have to miss a weekend or a week or something for. Okay, so that they align it perfectly. That's nice. You said you guys are training right now indoors. You're starting to get outdoors because of the weather. When you compare running in a treadmill to running outside, do you have a preference?
I would prefer to run outside. I don't care if it's 18 degrees, if it's 100 degrees, I'd prefer to run outside. Being on a treadmill is just so different in comparison to not being on a treadmill. So indoor and outdoor, kind of different, but still the same. I'm not on a treadmill, but being on a treadmill, it's really hard to gauge paces, in my opinion at least. So trying to take what I'm doing on a treadmill versus going on an indoor and outdoor track, really hard to make my mind know what I'm supposed to be running. It's working, but my mind doesn't know how it's working.
Right. And speaking of the mind, this was something I really struggled with when I had to run. What do you think about when you're just there moving feet, moving arm? Like, what goes through your head to be like, I really love doing this. This is fun. Let's keep going. Because I just couldn't do it.
So I actually sing a lot of the time. I sing I have songs on repeat in my head during races, but during mileage, all I can think about sometimes is like, I put myself through pain for fun. Why do I do it? But I could never quit. Like I love it too much, and it's such a weird love. Like I don't know why I love it, but I do. And it's so hard from like, sorry, I'm trying to put together words. It's so hard to think about it, if that makes any sense. Like I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is terrible. But then on the other hand, I'm thinking, I feel so good right now. My brain is conflicted, but I love it. And it's crazy.
Right. I can kind of understand that a little
Everyone says distance runners are crazy. Well, you have proof here.
Right.
We actually don't know whether we like it or not, but more often than not, we do like it.
And you're breaking records pretty consistently, so
yeah,
it's definitely working for you. Whatever you think about it, it's definitely working so far. What has been your favorite moment this season with the track team?
Probably watching the men win a meet. That was really awesome, especially because it's super hard to win meets in track when you don't have a lot of people. So having people like Drew get points in almost every single event he does, having people like Shannon get points in every single event she does, like just having the ability to get points as such a small team is awesome. And it was awesome watching the men win. I think it was their second meet that they had won in a row. That was awesome. I think another really fun moment for me was watching Logan finally PR in the 5K after not PRing for a year. It was an insane race. It was fun to watch, and not many people would think that a 5K is fun to watch, but it was super fun to watch.
When it comes to track, what event do you usually do?
So there's a lot, so bear with me. I'll do the 10K, which is 6.2 miles. I'll do the 5K, which is 3.1. I'll do steeplechase, which is the one where you look like a horse and you jump in the water pit.
We love to see that one.
Yeah, it's fun. Painful, but it's fun. I'll do the race walk, 3K indoor and 5K outdoor, and then the 4x4. I've also been put in the mile and the 800. Don't really like those races. Very rare that I get put in those. And then I run the 3K as well indoor. And then sometimes the 1K mile. Really just depends on what coach is feeling, also based off of like how I've been feeling throughout the week. So it's a ton of events.
Has there ever been a day, obviously not the indoors and outdoors because it's only once a day, but besides that, has there ever been a day that you've done every single event that you just mentioned all at once?
No. I feel like that would be so difficult to do just because that's so much mileage all at once. I have doubled 10K and 5K outdoors. I've doubled race walk and 5K outdoors. Indoors, I double 5K and 3K pretty frequently. So I'd say I pick a long and a short, or coach picks a long and a short, and then we'll go with it.
So you usually do two a meet pretty much?
Yeah, and then sometimes we'll add in the 4x4. So that's going to be exciting. I'm going to do that this weekend. That'll be fun.
Yeah, you don't have enough events you ran already, so you got to add more to it, of course. Between indoor and outdoor, what's the major difference for you, and which one do you prefer?
I definitely prefer outdoor. I think it's more natural to run outside. Indoor, sometimes it's really hard to breathe, especially coming off of cross country. Like, sometimes people will come back with, like, these terrible coughs, like, just from being inside, and it's stuffy inside. Also, indoor track, not really my favorite because I feel like everything is just so much faster, but the events are also shorter. So if I had to weigh the two, I'd definitely pick outdoor just because there's more events that I like in outdoor. I like the 3K, I like the 5K indoor, but outdoor is definitely a lot more fun in my opinion.
I've heard from a couple cross-country athletes that for the indoors, you basically have to do double the laps to make it, even with outdoor.
Yeah.
If you're used to outdoor, how mentally challenging is it to be like, okay, I've done 3 laps, but this time I got to do 6. I got 3 left. Does it hurt at all in your head?
So the last few years, it did hurt in my head. Like, I'd show up on the line for a 5K and I'd be like, are you kidding me? I have 25 laps. This is crazy. And then I'd do it and it'd be fine. When outdoor, it's only 12 and a half. But I think more this year, I've kind of gotten used to it. Like, honestly, the laps go faster indoor, but the races are almost faster. I feel like that doesn't make sense, but it does at the same time.
Getting ready to wrap things up here, what is one thing that you're looking forward to the most this season?
I'm looking forward to PRing again. I want to PR in at least every event that I do, so that includes outdoor. I didn't PR in cross country, but I came really close to it, so I'm gonna go for it. I need to get over that mental block. Coach says this probably every single time we have a hard practice. Just get over the mental block and just do it. So that's my goal. I'm looking forward to doing it. Speaking
of PRs, what have been, I know you do a ton of events, but what have been like your best numbers in different events? Any events you want to name?
So 5K for cross country, I ran a 20:42, I think. That was my freshman year. Indoor race walk, I did a 15:30. The 3K, I just PR'd in that, so that was fun. My PR is now 12:15 or 12:13, I think. Don't quote me on that.
And that's 2 miles and a little bit more?
Just under 2.
Just under 2
yeah.
miles.
I don't really know my PRs for the marathon. I PR'd in that. I went 3:41, so 3 hours 41 minutes. That was fun.
Yeah, those numbers.
Yeah, straight.
That's crazy. It's just unbelievable to think about. Those numbers are definitely legit.
Yeah.
Faith, it's a pleasure having you here at Culver Stockton College. We're really glad you're here. It's a pleasure having you on the podcast as well. We got to learn more about track and field, cross country, and my favorite so far, speed walking. So I'm looking forward to seeing you do all those events in the upcoming weeks. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Also, we have a home meet on April 15th or 13th. Check the schedule online. It's one of those 2 days.
Saturday?
Yes, it's a Saturday in April.
So Saturday in April, the 13th or 15th.
Yes.
Welcome back, everyone, as we are getting ready for our second segment here today in the 6th episode of Off the Bench. Joining us for this second segment is Brock Nellor, football team quarterback here at Culver Stockton College, as well as a part of the Wildcat Network. So, Brock, we're excited to talk baseball and some NBA with you. We're really glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let's start around with baseball. Some important news going around. It came out yesterday that Cy Young candidate Corbin Burnes has signed with the Brewers. Pretty shocking news there. I was not expecting him to go, he signed with the Orioles. Sorry, from the Brewers. Yeah. Signed with the Orioles. I was not expecting him to leave the Brewers. I thought he was going to stay with them another year, maybe two. I feel like he had a really good performance there in Milwaukee. The fans really loved him. However, Baltimore getting really excited to have this Cy Young candidate in their squad. Brock, what are your thoughts on this trade? Does it make sense for the Brewers to let go of him and for the Baltimore Orioles to get him?
I think it makes more sense for the direction the Baltimore Orioles are going in because they're trying to win now because they just had a really good season last year. They were, I think, second or third in a tough AL East. But yeah, I think it's a good pickup for the Orioles because they're younger, treading in the right direction right now. So I think that's a good pickup for them for sure.
The Orioles, in return of Burnes, gave up number 34 prospect, I should say, in MLB in the minors, shortstop Joey Ortiz. He's now with Milwaukee, as well as left-hander pitcher DL Hall, and first-round pick as well. So Milwaukee, from getting these prospects, getting a first-round pick for next year, it looks like they know this isn't going to be the World Series year. It looks like they're already thinking about 2025. However, it's kind of surprising to me because I still think they can win the Central this year, and I believe they know that. But they also know they're not really going to make it too deep into the playoffs. Is that what you're getting right now out of this trade from the Brewers side of things?
Yeah, I think getting rid of starting pitching in the offseason especially, you don't get to see how that pitching starts off in the next season, see how your team starts off the next season. So I think they're really just trying to push for 2025. And I think I just think that the Brewers, they're not a win now. They're not in the time to win now. And I just don't think they have the weapons to win now, especially with Christian Yelich trending down.
My dad last week, he was speaking with a diehard fan of the Brewers, and he said he's used to disappointment from Milwaukee. He lives there in Milwaukee. He loves the team. He's so faithful, but he knows that every season they build it up to like, this is going to be our year. We're finally going to win it. And then the playoffs come around, usually the first round, and they get knocked out. That's just something we've seen on a regular basis from Milwaukee. So I'm really sorry for the Milwaukee fan base, but that's how things have been going lately. Yeah. For the Orioles, however, things are looking good. They finished first in the AL East last season. They get a really good pitcher right now. On top of that, their rotation is key, including starting pitcher Grayson Rodriguez. They have 4 top quality starters for the Orioles. Is there any other key piece, not just in the starting rotation, not just in the bullpen, but position players? Anyone else? Any other position they need to add for this season?
I think they already have the catcher position locked up with Adley Rutschman for the next few years. They have some short middle infielders. I know they have, I forgot his name, but they have a shortstop right now who's young, up and coming, and then they have dudes like Jorge Mateo who are pretty good baseball players. So I think they could probably fill in some corner outfield spots, but other than that, I know they were older there last season. I don't really know who they have to go up for them next season for them, but I think corner outfield is probably their biggest concern right now.
Let's try and get into the place of a Baltimore fan right now. How happy are you with the trade, with getting Corbin Burnes? Because, of course, you get a Cy Young, candidate. That's awesome. But did they really need him? The rotation was already strong. Was it just a waste of money to get another starting pitcher when they could have gotten someone, a position player, to help him out?
Well, nowadays with the starting pitching and how often starting pitchers get hurt or are put on the IL because they have arm tightness or soreness, it's never bad to have more starting pitching, especially if it's the Cy Young caliber. And giving up, some prospects that aren't going to develop into their final form for the next couple of years probably is a better move for them right now, the way they're trending for next season. So I think them tightening up the rotation even more than they already had it is probably a good move for them.
Last year, the Orioles finished first in the AL East, as I said. They won 101 games, and they were off to a really, really good start. Tampa Bay also in that division to an undefeated run. I can't remember if it was 16, 14 games, but they were off to just an amazing start. The Orioles were able to get the best of the division, and I'm expecting to see the same result in the AL East this season. However, is Corbin Burnes the guy the Orioles need in order for them to get past the first round of the postseason next year?
I think that it more lies within the bats in the lineup. Because they had the pitching last year, even in the playoffs. I think they had a couple bad games from some of their starters. I don't know I can pull up the stats on it, but I know they had some mishaps in the field as well. But I think that more comes from their production from the middle of the lineup and stuff like that. Because I think they have all the arms in the world, and I don't think an arm would get them over that hump. But their young players progressing and getting better, I think will.
I really hope they don't choke this year again. I would get really happy for their fan base. They haven't won a World Series, and I don't even know how long, but it's been forever. In my time alive, I was born in 2002. They just haven't won a World Series. So it's a low market team. They're starting to get to maybe middle market nowadays, but usually they're not really well rounded when it comes to financial side of things. They are getting key players. They are getting some wins and some division clinches as well. So I'm excited to see if they can actually win it all. Do I think they'll win the World Series this year? I don't. I think they'll bow down in the championship series. But it's a good start. I can see them winning the whole thing maybe in 2 years' time. And for Baltimore fans, there's a lot to look forward to.
For sure. I just think it's all dwindles down to L.A. whenever their core goes away, whenever the Dodgers' core goes away. I think that's when other teams will be able to start winning again after next season.
Yeah, so. The Dodgers are just it seems like they're just going to win it all for, next 2-3 years?
Yeah, at least probably the next 2-3 years, I think. I at least be in it. They could do the classic Dodgers and choke, but never know.
Ohtani, Yamamoto, Mookie Betts, is Kershaw? No, does Kershaw retire already?
Kershaw, he's either retiring or playing one more year. He made an announcement. Yeah, but he's definitely. Oh no, he's a free agent right now. He's a free agent arm. So I think the Dodgers are going to pick him back up though. And then they have, I think Walker Buehler's still there in their rotation as well. And then they have dudes like Dustin May, who's really really good. He's coming off Tommy John. And then they have Freddie Freeman still. So
Freddie Freeman. I was thinking who their first baseman was. I know it was. I was still thinking of I can't even think of his name. Their old first baseman, and then I just can't remember. It's Freddie Freeman with them.
It was right before Freddie Freeman.
I kind of have the name, but now I don't. But no, either way, the Dodgers are looking really good for the next 3 years. So Baltimore Orioles, you guys might have to wait a little bit, along with the other 29 teams.
Yes,
28 in this case.
Yes.
For the Brewers, they have a new manager. They have Pat Murphy now. They just signed him recently this offseason to a 3-year contract. He'll be with the Brew Crew until the 2026 season. What do you think of the signing of them getting rid of Craig Counsell and having Pat Murphy in there? How big of an impact will he have on the organization?
So Craig Counsell had the chance to win there for maybe 5 seasons. He had a pretty good roster there for around 5 seasons, and I think with you said Murphy, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think with him, I think it just brings new life into the clubhouse. I don't really know anything about his pedigree, but I think a new coach in that clubhouse just brings new life to that team because they've been dead for like 4 or 5 years. Even if they've been in the playoffs, they've really never gotten over the hump. And I think getting rid of Craig Counsell will help them do that.
And they've had good players when Council was there. It's not the lack of players, And he was a pretty good manager. He came in with a good resume. People expected him to be the real deal when it came to managing the Brewers. And as we saw, it just didn't work out for them. So as you said, hopefully Pat Murphy brings him some new life into the clubhouse they really, really needed. And Brewers fans, maybe they'll get a win someday. Maybe they'll get a World Series. Who knows?
Yep.
Moving into Blake Snell. We talked about him in the first episode of our podcast here when it was rumored he would be signing with the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays seemed like they really wanted to get him. However, the Mets in these last few days got him, and he'll be playing right now in New York. He's not really used to being in a big market team. He's not used to that much of the attention. We saw him be in a couple lower market teams, and he's done great. Will the same greatness he had pitching in those teams transfer over to a big city like New York?
So yeah, he was in. So I'm a Padres fan. So he was in San Diego last year, and he was unbelievable. He had one of the lowest ERAs in the MLB last year, and that's not a huge market right now compared to New York, LA, but that's one of the bigger markets right now. And I think he'll be all right, but New York and LA are just a different animal from every other city that you can play professional sports in, because the fans there's so many more fans in LA than there is in any other city in the world, and same thing with New York.
The media as well. The media in New York is just crazy. I remember Derek Jeter, how he would comment on how different it is to play, in his case, for the Yankees.
Yeah, it's I think it could, like in Jeter's case, like it made him step up his game. Like it makes some of these dudes that go there and end up having stellar careers in New York. It's a little different for guys like Cody Bellinger, who went to LA and he was great for a couple years, and then he started getting ridiculed by fans, and then he had to leave, and now he's in Chicago and one of the better players in the league again. So I think some of these guys are not built for the big moment, like the big cities and stuff, but dudes like Blake Snell, I think he is. He's kind of a dog on the mound. He really gets after it on the mound. So I think he'll be a good fit in the Mets organization.
As we keep it here talking about the Mets, we've seen them in the last 2 years. They spent a lot of money on their players. They really want to win. This offseason, we kind of saw the cost kind of go down a little bit, more into reality numbers, at least for the MLB. Mm-hmm. However, now with getting Snell, is a pretty good contract. So they're still spending big money. What does this say about the Mets? And we've seen them, as I said, spend the money, but they haven't gotten the result. Will it be any different this year for them?
So I think this year the difference for them was they're doing the right thing with their money. They're going and getting pitching that isn't, Snell has not been a career injured guy. He's been in the rotation. He's been injured for, probably a season in full in his career, but he's been in the rotation for most of the seasons, at least with the Padres he was. And I feel like them getting pitchers who are going to be able to play a full season and help them get to the playoffs instead of trying to just worry about the playoffs and trying to get by in the regular season, I think that'll help them a lot more than just picking up position players and injury-prone pitchers that go out and show up in the playoffs, but they won't play the whole regular season because they're always injured.
Spring training, the start of spring training is less than a month away. So, Brock, I'm going to put you here on the spot a little bit. Let's make our very early predictions for the 2024 MLB season. Let's do it this way. Let's go American East, NL East, and American Central, NL Central, and then finish off with AL, NL West. Let's start off with that, and then we'll get deeper into the postseason, what we think will happen. Okay. Start us off.
So, what first?
AL East. Let's do AL East
AL
first.
East,
I'll do mine.
I think the Orioles are going again. I think they're going to go back-to-back AL East champions for sure. I have the Orioles.
I'll agree with you on that one. I got the Orioles as well. I don't think there's much doubt about it. Brock, I'll start us off with AL Central. That's actually a tough one. I'm gonna say the Twins.
Yeah, I also really like the Twins this year. I think Royce Lewis is going to be an absolute dog this year. I'm really excited for him this year for sure.
AL West.
AL West. I want the Mariners, but give me the Astros.
Thank you. I was going to say
more than likely the Astros.
Right. Yeah. There's only one right choice. I want the Astros as well. Honestly, I think the Mariners might win it, but I want the Astros to win.
Oh, you want the Astros to win?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm the opposite. I don't want the Astros to win. I want the Mariners to win, but I think the Astros are going to win.
Yeah, I became an Astros fan when Correa got drafted by them, and then eventually again we see him play with me being from Puerto Rico, him as well. So it just it just fit perfectly, of course.
Oh yeah,
he's
Correa,
with the Twins now, but still kind of an Astros fan with Altuve there as well.
Oh yeah, Correa. I like Correa for sure. He's a dog.
NL East. Who do you have?
NL East. That's the Marlins.
Marlins, Braves, Phillies.
Get the Braves. Yeah,
You got the Braves,
I got
yeah.
the Braves or Phillies, but give me the Braves for sure.
Yeah, I'll say Braves first, Phillies second, and after that, it's really up for grabs.
Yeah, I think the drop off. I think the Marlins have a chance to be good, but I think their pitching has to show up next year. They're young. They have Sixto and stuff, but they're still really young.
Then I think about it, I might put the Marlins at second, really, and the Phillies at third.
Yeah, because the Phillies are declining right now. Schwarber's old, ending contract. All these guys on their team are old. Besides, Bryce Harper's still Bryce Harper, but
I can tell our producer didn't agree with us there. But hey, I spent the summer in Miami, and it was fun getting to be a Marlins fan for 3 months.
Got to do it
Right.
there for sure. Yeah.
And the tickets were just so cheap for Lone Depot Park. I would be there 3 times a week, just $7 for tickets.
And it's an insane ballpark. We went down there for spring break one time, and we went to a game. It was a pretty good time. Or not spring break, summer break.
Right.
Yeah. It was a good time though.
Were you there this past summer?
No, 2 summers ago.
2 summers. Yeah. It's a nice experience.
When they were first trying to take down the statue in center field.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah.
NL Central, I'll start us off. I have... Wow. Sadly, I have the Brewers. I want the Cardinals to win. Of course, we're just 2 hours away from Busch Stadium, but I think the Brewers are going to come on top of it.
Yeah, I want the Cubs, and I think the Cubs are going to do it. I think I don't think that division's very impressive next year at all. The Reds are one of the worst teams in baseball. They have exciting players, but my dad's a Reds fan, so I always call them the worst team in baseball. But I just think that division is so poor that I think the Cubs have a chance, and I think they'll do it because they're pretty young. They have good players. Dansby's over there, and I really like Dansby Swanson. So
I'd be really happy for Cubs Nation if they get it. Their stadium, Wrigley, is always packed.
Yeah,
win or lose, their fans are faithful, and as a club, as an organization, you have to love that.
Yeah, so, it'd be a good feeling for that fan base for sure.
For the NL West, I think we can both say the Dodgers.
I'm a Padres fan, but yeah, give me the Dodgers by about 20 games.
Right.
Yeah.
Easily.
I think they're going to be the best team in baseball. Might break the win record just because they have arms. They have 8 arms that could be a 2 anywhere else, but they're in the back end of the rotation at the Dodgers. So, yeah, I think their arm talent alone will win them at least 25, 30 games.
Yeah, they have 8 top arms, 20 top hitters.
Yeah.
Probably 3 top coaches. Who knows what the coaching staff even brings.
And they probably have some dudes in minor leagues right now. They're just throwing 130 miles an hour like Dustin May was. Now he's in the MLB. Now he's in the MLB throwing, sinkers 102.
You think it's fair to say the Dodgers are the face of baseball right now?
Oh yeah. I think not really. They're the most hated. I think they're kind of how the Yankees used to be. The Yankees still kind of are. But, the Yankees are most hated always. But this is kind of like when the Yankees would pick up every good player in the MLB, like Reggie Jackson with the Yankees, and they would pick up every good player in the MLB. So now the Dodgers are doing it, and now they're the face of baseball because they have all the big names in baseball, but they're still the most hated. But, yeah, I would say they're the face for sure.
Brock, we'll end part 1 here, I should say. We'll take a little break. Welcome back, everyone, as we are here joined once again by Brock Nellor. Brock, now we get to talk some basketball with you. We had a good baseball MLB segment. Let's get into basketball now, more specifically the NBA, and let's start off with the Bucks. So, starting off, some news that really captured my eyes was the fact they started at 30 and 13, I should say. Aiden Griffin, however, getting fired, their head coach, getting fired after that start. For me, in my eyes, it's not a bad start at all. Of course, it's the Bucks. You're expected to be in first place pretty much the entire season. They're in second place right now. is it the coach's fault? Was it worth firing your head coach, Aiden Griffin, due to a 30-13 start?
So I think with that, you can't start 30-13 with Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo. I feel like that's the only thing. Like that's what went through their head. I feel like 30-13 is a good start. I don't think I'd be mad at it as a fan. I would actually have been confused as a fan. Like I'm a Damian Lillard fan, so I was confused when they fired Adrian Griffin. But then they brought in a dude like Doc Rivers, so it kind of makes sense after that. You know, Doc Rivers has been there, but he's never really won it. You know, he's never led like a great team to win the championship. Like he has a great team right now. Hopefully he can, you know, turn that resume around. But you know, when he was with the Clippers for a long time, he was not winning championships with one of the better teams in the NBA. So,
how many losses do you think the Bucks? Let's keep the winning at 30. How many losses do you think the Bucks had to have in order for the coach not to be fired?
I think they have to keep it under 10. If they had, they would probably had to be like 34-9 up to this point, up to that point. If he wanted to keep his job, I think under 10 wins or under 10 losses was probably his goal by this point of the season. Like 40 games in, probably.
With Doc Rivers coming in now, do you think he'll have an immediate impact in the team? Do you think they'll be able to get to first place by the end of the season?
I don't know. I think that it's a tough Eastern Conference right now with the Celtics being, you know, back up. With Jason Tatum's playing some of his best basketball. And then, you know, Embiid just recently got hurt, but the 76ers looked like one of the better teams in the NBA. And, you know, it's just a tough East, but I think the Bucks, they have one of the better rosters in the NBA, so they should make that push, especially with bringing in a coach like Doc Rivers, who is notorious for winning regular season games for sure.
Taking a look at the Eastern Conference standings, the Celtics, as you said, sitting in first place. Bucks are in second place, 4.5 games of the Celtics. Then close to them, you have the Knicks. They're just a half game out from the Bucks. The Cavaliers are up next with 1 game out of the Bucks. And to wrap it up, the 76ers are a game and a half. So we're seeing a really close Eastern Conference. Anything can happen between second, third, fourth, and fifth place. I don't think anyone's going to measure up to the Celtics. I think the Celtics are going to run away with it. But it wouldn't surprise me to see the Bucks finish as low as fourth, I would say. If they finish fifth, I'd be surprised. But fourth, I can definitely see it.
Yeah, I can see that bouncing around for sure. But they're also in that top 5 that you mentioned. There's some teams that, you know, that are unproven in the playoffs, like that young Cavs team. You know, they have a young who's there, Jared Allen, Darius Garland. You know, they're a pretty young core, but I do see them getting it done. You know, ultimately just gelling together a little bit more as a Cavs team. But I don't think the Bucks will slip out of the top 3. I think that top 3 will be reserved for the Celtics, Bucks, and then
Knicks.
Yeah, maybe the Knicks. I think they're playing good basketball. Like, you know, Julius Randle's playing good basketball right now, but they don't really have a wow piece outside of him. Besides, you know, Jalen Brunson actually as well. I forgot about Jalen Brunson. He's one of the better players in the NBA right now. But yeah, that Knicks team they're a good basketball team, but I think they'll end up slipping out. And I think a team like the 76ers, if Joel comes back healthy and plays the basketball he can play and gets a little bit more team oriented, you know, they could win some games, could rattle off some games, get in the third spot.
So if not the Knicks, who would take their place? Are we looking at 76ers, I'm assuming?
Yeah, 76ers, Cavs. You know, the Knicks might stay there if Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson can keep playing well together. But you never know. In basketball, especially, the players get hurt all the time or players sit out all the time, like nowadays in the NBA. So you never know. Teams are just trying to get in the playoffs and see what they can do, see what they can make happen in the playoffs, especially in the East right now.
We saw the Bucks win a national championship a couple of years back. No matter how low or how high they finish in the conference standings this season, do you think they have a chance to get back to their glory days?
Yeah, there's definitely always a chance whenever you have Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. There's always a chance. They're 2 of the best players in the NBA. One of the most prolific scorers of our generation, Damian Lillard, and then Giannis, one of the most dominant players of our generation, probably the most dominant player of our generation besides Shaquille O'Neal. But I think if they can't win in the playoffs, then that says more about probably the pieces around those 2 and the coaching and I think that says less about those two as superstars if they lose this year.
Let's talk a little bit about the Rookie of the Year battle that's going on right now. Two top candidates. I think it's pretty obvious. It's going to be Chet and Wembanyama. I don't know if I'm saying his name.
Wembanyama. Yeah, we'll just say Wemby. Yeah,
we'll say Wemby for this one. I can't quite pronounce the name. But Chet and Wemby are the two favorites right now for the Rookie of the Year award. In your eyes, who is going to win it and why?
So, obviously, the biggest player, like the biggest name in the NBA right now is Wembanyama because of who he is as a prospect. But I think Chet last year he didn't play his rookie year because he had a season-ending injury training for the season, playing in the 5-on-5 like pro-am game before the season, and he didn't get to play his rookie year. And then this year he is actually considered a rookie, same way Ben Simmons won Rookie of the Year. He's considered a rookie this year, and he's one more year advanced. He still has similar skill sets to a guy like Victor Wembanyama, and he's just more efficient with the basketball in his hands. Less turnovers, more made threes, more assists. He's just more of a well-rounded basketball player as of right now. So I think he's going to end up winning that award.
So overall, you prefer him over Wemby?
I would rather have Wemby. If I had to choose one for right now, I'd rather have Wemby because he's younger and has a bigger upside. But as of this season and as the Rookie of the Year race goes on, I think it'll be Chet as Rookie of the Year. But I think Wemby next year, he might be a 30 a game, like a 30, 15, and 4 assists a game, and then 4.5, 3.5 blocks a game. I'm saying for next year, he might go out and have one of the better seasons we've seen in a long time and be the most improved player or even the MVP just because of how good he is and his upside's so big. So
here's the thing. The major issue with him is his injury problems. Mm-hmm. We don't really know what to expect in terms of is he going to be able to stay healthy for 10 more years? Is he going to last that long in the league? We've already seen a lot of injuries come his way, and he's really young. However, 7'4", I believe.
7'4" with like a 7'10" wingspan, something like that. 7'8", 7'10", something like that.
So for someone that tall, it's normal to be kind of injury prone. We've seen it with other players as well, so it's no surprise. However, I believe there's no doubt he's a really good player. Mm-hmm. But the injuries, how long will his career last in the NBA if he can't sustain the injuries?
So there's guys that have been this big in the past in the NBA, like Yao Ming was 7'6", he was also a big man, wasn't very athletic, so he didn't have very athletic knees, and later into his career that really showed. But he was dominant for like 5 years, 6 years. But a guy like Wemby, the way he plays, he could be healthy forever because he's so athletic and can get around and dance around in injuries, unlike a lot of other big men could do, like 7'4" big men could do back then. But I think we've seen Kristaps get hurt. He's 7'3". He plays similar to Wemby, not in the dribbling set, but in shooting wise and playing in the post, he plays similar to Wemby. But yeah, I think Wemby, if he can sustain the way he plays and getting closer to playing like a guard, that might help him stay healthy because it'll keep his knees and ankles more healthy because he's not banging in the post with all the big dudes that weigh 300 pounds or 220 pounds.
I think his resilience will definitely go a long way as well.
For sure.
Mentally, it plays a big role. And we know he's a guy that he's in the NBA to win. Whether that is individual accomplishments or as a team, which we know he prefers to win the national championship rather than have his own accomplishments. But he's not just in the NBA to make, 5 years, make a little good show, get some money and retire. He's there to win. And he is a winner. He's a performer. He knows what he has to do. And he's going to be able to fight through these injuries. We've seen that before. And I'm excited to see just even more greatness from him in the upcoming years.
Yeah, I think it's not too far of the realm of possibility for him to be the greatest of all time, for sure. I think he has all the skills in the world for it, and he got put in a great situation with the Spurs with Greg Popovich in the last few years of his coaching career. So I think that'll be really good for him because of guys that especially international guys that Greg Popovich has helped along their way, like Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili. He was great with international players. So I expect nothing less than him to be great with Victor Wembanyama for sure.
Looking a little bit at his numbers right now, this season on average, he's having 21 points per game, 10 assists, 3 rebounds, as well as 3.5 blocks and a steal during the game. Those are pretty good numbers. I like the double-double average. We see 21 points, 10 rebounds. So he's proven to be himself. He's proven to be a top player, and those numbers are definitely showing it so far. When we talk a little bit more about the Thunder, Shai, I believe that's how you pronounce his name.
Shea. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Shea or Shai? Shea.
It might be Shai. I don't. I've heard Shea though. I've heard Shea mostly when
We'll
I'm
go with
watching
Shea.
games. So yeah.
Shea. So okay, he's a really good player for the Thunder. We've seen that this season. His future with them is looking bright. However, is it too early to say he's the best point guard in the NBA right now?
So I don't think that is too crazy to say, because there's guys like Tyrese Halliburton who's out for a little bit right now, and he was one of the best players in the point guards in the NBA this year. And then there's guys like Steph Curry who also have the pedigree of being the best point guard in the NBA. And there's De'Aaron Fox. There's other great point guards. There's Darius Garland. But I think based off numbers, I feel like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander having just averaging 30 alone, as well as mixing in 6-7 assists and then five rebounds. That's really underrated from the guard position, is getting 5 to 6 rebounds a game, helping out your team however you can. I think he's probably the most versatile guard in the NBA. Him and De'Aaron Fox are 1 and 2 for that. But they play, he plays a different brand of basketball than a lot of other point guards, and he's super fast. He can get to a spot whenever he wants to, and he's really showed that this year. He's really improved, and he's only getting better. And that's the same thing with that whole Thunder team, like Giddey and Chet, Shea. They're all so young and so good, and they're number 2 in the West right now. So
when we compare Shea to Steph Curry, we know Curry's best attribute is his 3-point shooting. There's no doubt about it. Does Shea have the same ability to shoot from behind the arc with the same ease that Curry does?
So I don't think anyone will ever have that same touch. Not in the next 10 years at least. We're not going to see another player in the NBA. There's probably not someone born right now that'll ever be a better shooter than Steph Curry. It'll probably be 30, 40 years down the line. But I think that's the value in Steph's game, and that's he's gonna go out and shoot 45% from the 3-point line, and he's gonna go out there and make almost everything he puts up, no matter how ridiculous it is. But I think that's actually where their skills are a lot different. Shea is more like dribble, get to a spot than Steph Curry is. He plays off the pick. Shea plays off the pick and roll, same thing as Steph Curry, but Steph Curry moves off ball a lot better than Shea does. That's why Steph Curry's assist numbers aren't as high as Shea's. Or sorry, that's the reason his assist numbers aren't very high. Shea's are also not very high because he's more of a ball dominant guard as well. He'll shoot the 3, but he will also drive and make his own bucket within the mid range. So,
looking now, moving to talk about the trade deadline here in the NBA. When we talk about the Bulls, they've had a disappointing season. They're currently in 9th place with a 23-26 record, so 3 games under 500 and 14 games back of the first place Boston Celtics. Specifically, Zach LaVine. Currently, he's in a 3-year contract with $138 million, so $46 million per year. Is it time to get rid of Zach LaVine and send him off to a better team?
Yeah, it's about time for the Bulls to have a full rebuild, I think. There's not a lot of upside on that team at all right now. It didn't help that Lonzo got hurt. There was fear that he was going to have a career-ending injury. I don't know what the updates are on that right now, but I think last time I checked, it was like he wasn't going to play again, or not for the next couple of years. And that was a huge pickup for them, because he'll go out and score 15, but he also have 15 assists and then 2 steals. He's a great, invaluable piece to an NBA team. And I think that is kind of what messed up their core and what they wanted to do, because when they brought in all those players, they were looking to be one of the better teams in the NBA. But then their core got hurt, or I don't think they had any attitude problems or anything. But LaVine was still doing his thing, but he was healthy, and then he wasn't healthy, and it was just the same thing as the Nets when they brought in Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. it's all the right pieces, but they never are on the court together, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I remember when they brought those three in for the Warriors. I really liked the Warriors, especially when they were winning, of course.
Yeah,
I'll say I'm a little bit of a bandwagon, but when they brought in Curry, Durant, Thompson, and Chris Paul was a little bit after that. But when they brought the three of them in, I was excited. I thought all three of them would play together at the same time, but we immediately saw the injuries just weren't able to make that possible. And I wouldn't say they didn't really click, honestly, the three of them in the court together. We saw them win a national championship. They were able to win it all, but it was just so much hype coming into it and not really fulfilling our expectations. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. We've been seeing the past couple of years with the Bulls. So I agree with you. I think it's time for them to start rebuilding. I think it's in their best interest to do so.
For sure.
As we get ready to wrap things up, let's talk about one more team in the trade deadline. Let's go to my favorite team right now. Let's do Warriors. So Andrew Wiggins, I think he might be on the move, especially with Kuminga coming in on a pretty big contract and just playing really well. I think he might take over Wiggins' position, and I think it's just time for Wiggins to find another home.
Yeah, so on that starting lineup for Kuminga and Wiggins, so that transition will be a lot better for the Warriors because, at the end of the day, a guy like Kuminga is, an invaluable piece of that team, and they have to choose one. And I think them letting go of Andrew Wiggins right now, if they did let anyone go at the deadline, it's not for sure they'll let him go, but if they did let anyone go at the deadline, it'd be him. And I think that'd probably be the best person to get rid of just because of his contract being so high. And I think Kuminga coming in, and you can give him a contract that's better for the team, better for the organization, instead of a contract that's better for him because he hasn't really proved himself. But this year he's kind of coming into his own, and they're finally giving more minutes. I wouldn't say it's really on him not coming into his own, but he really hasn't had the minutes in the past, and he's been a decent NBA player since he's been in the league. So. Here's
another thing. With the Warriors sitting right now at 12th place, they are 12 games back of first. Is it time for them to rebuild?
I think as long as you have Steph Curry, it's not really in a rebuilding mode. But guys like Klay Thompson, I know that they have loyalty to him. He's been their guy for a long time. Same thing with Draymond Green. But those contracts are just eating the core of that team alive. And I think Steph Curry, he's still Steph Curry, but he's the only person who's still that former version of himself that was so good when they had the dynasty going. And, they won it last year. Was that last year or 2 years ago when they won that?
2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago. Yeah, when they won that a couple years ago, that was, that was probably their last hurrah after not winning for a couple seasons. I think that was probably just, probably could have been their last wave at it. Especially because Klay Thompson had a season-ending injury, pretty sure the following year, or the year before that. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was the year before that, and then he was a role in that team. But I know he had a season-ending injury at some point. But, yeah, I think that team, it's time for them to just call it, have Steph Curry be the vet on their team for a while, and bring in some young guys and build for the future.
I definitely think Thompson's Achilles injury, the season-ending one, did not do him any favors. Mm-mm. Obviously not at the moment, but even now we're kind of starting to see another version of Thompson, the version we haven't really seen before. He might be getting worn out. His injury problems are, kicking in. The age is coming in as well. So as you said, it might be time for some of those key pieces, as well as Draymond Green. I'm gonna mention him in there too. Yeah, might be time for them to.
Yeah, he needs. It's Draymond's Green time to hang him up completely.
Right.
Because he's not going to fit on the Warriors. He's probably not going to fit anywhere. So.
I don't think a lot of teams would want him, especially with his attitude problems.
Yeah, he's more of a franchise full career type of guy with his attitude. That's why guys like Dylan Brooks isn't working out in the NBA anymore because he can't go to another team. He's already had enough problems with other teams. I don't know if other teams would even take him at this point, especially with his age too. So,
for the last part of our segment, let's do a quick NBA Finals prediction. Let's go one team West, one team East, and we'll start with you, Brock.
Out of the West, I think the Thunder are too young this year. I don't think the Timberwolves are very good, but I think that they're the one seed, so Or no, sorry. Is it Memphis or the Timberwolves? Who's the 1 seed in the West?
Timberwolves right now.
Timberwolves. Yeah, I think the Timberwolves are going to win it, but I think they're going to lose in the finals to either the Celtics or the Bucks. But I want it to be the Bucks.
Interesting. I'll go from the West. I'll say Nuggets. I think they'll make it back to the finals, and I'll say Bucks go to the final. But I think the Nuggets will win this time.
Yeah, I think Jokic is.
He's hungry for a win.
Yeah,
for another one.
Yeah, for another one for sure. He's a special talent for sure. He's one of a kind.
And we already know he likes to get home quickly.
Yeah.
We all saw the press conference. He's not really paying too much attention about the parade, what's going on.
Oh yeah, no.
Maybe this year round will be different.
Yeah, maybe. I might crack a smile out of him for sure, but I don't know. He's been winning for a while now. Not finally won a finals, but he's been great for a while. A couple MVPs, back to back, and didn't really smile that much anyway. So he's just wants to go home. I guess.
Brock, our producer's telling us to cut it off, so that's all the time we have. It's been a pleasure getting to talk MLB and NBA with you. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to have you here again for another segment. Thank you, Brock.